Silent Night is on Apple Plus. Not really. Apple iTunes, Apple Store, they moved it. It's hard to, what is it now? That's where I watched it. Directed by John Woo. I'm gonna stop singing now. Anyway, this is a Christmas movie that I watched in January. Look at that. I don't know my things. I was perusing through the list of through the Apple Store, looking at the new titles, and I clicked on Silent Night, and I noticed that it was like way cheaper to buy Silent Night than it was to rent it. Conceptually, I don't even understand it at that point. Like it was on this dramatic sale to buy it, but then like to rent it, it was like $20. I was like, it's like less than half of that. It was like $7 to buy it or $20 to rent it. And I'm like, I don't know that I'll ever watch this film again, but like what the fuck? Like who on earth is gonna go, no, rental? Like I wanna have that level of money in my life to where I can look at that option and still be like, I choose rental. You know, like it just, I don't know who that person is. Why even bother? Come on, Apple Plus. Just figure your shit out. It has audio description. The team at Deluxe, William Michael Redman, so appropriate. Thank you so much. In many ways, the audio description made this better because this film would be highly unwatchable without audio description. It's great that this film has audio description. I watched it with audio description because I already made my list of the 15 worst experiences that I've had in film due to lack of audio description. This and Skinamarink would have been like neck and neck for worst had this not had audio description. I don't even conceptually understand watching this going to a theater if this didn't have audio description. I would probably assault a manager if their audio description broke on like mid-film. If they sent me in there and like the audio description just like faded away. I'd be so angry. I'd be like, do you have any idea there's no dialogue in this film? At least with I don't know why we were doing this in 2023. I don't know why we all felt like we needed to just remove dialogue from films. Why it's a cute new thing we're doing. We're just saying dialogue out of films. We're just making silent films now. Even Robot Dreams, I understand, is like basically a silent animated film. The new Oscar nominee for Best Animated Feature. So we had No One Will Save You, which has almost no dialogue, and it was really awkward. It was so weird because it was obvious that people could speak, and they were just choosing not to. That movie like immediately lost points for me when when the delivery driver like tried to play basketball with a package rather than just, I don't know, communicate like a normal person. Like I don't mind lack of audio description. I mean lack of audio in a film. Like you're right. We don't need a lot of it. You can be really quiet. I think what's interesting is John Wick Chapter 4 highlights the lack of dialogue, the lack of need for dialogue when you have great direction and great setup and production design, and your scene does not really require it, you know? But when you go to an extreme level to avoid dialogue, it's obnoxious. It's not cool. It's not like a new thing we're doing. It just feels like, why aren't people talking? And you try to give some sort of reason to it, like somebody gets injured in this film, and that's the reason why there's no dialogue in this film, and so we're going with that. But then, not everybody. You know what I'm saying? Luckily, in this film, more so than in No One Can Save You, there's some background murmuring occasionally. You can hear like the extras in the background like mulling about their day, and there's a little bit of that and I was like, oh thank God people do talk in this world. None of the leads do. And the funny thing is, they all make sound because they all grunt, and they're like, "Ugh." It's a lot of that. It's a lot of like fighting with like grunting, and it's a last American film John Woo directed was Paycheck, and I'm sitting here thinking, he waited 20 years to come back for this? Like, what was it about this film where he was like, I must return to America? I feel like what happened, now that I know this film and I've seen it from start to finish, is John Woo found out who the Punisher is and then went to Marvel and was like, hello, I'm John Woo. I would like to direct the Punisher. And Marvel was like, no. We currently have no plans to do anything with the Punisher here in 2021, 2022, whenever he decided probably to start making Silent Night. We have no plans for that character right now. Sorry, John. You're just gonna and he's like, I'm gonna do it anyway. Fuck you. And he went off and he made the Punisher. And he switched a couple things around so that Marvel couldn't sue him. And henceforth, Silent Night. This is the Punisher. It's the same plot. It's basically the same plot as the Punisher. Especially the Thomas Jane movie, like the simplified and reduced version of the Thomas Jane John Travolta film feels very similar to that. I won't explain why, because again, not big on rereading plot lines. It's got some silliness to it, where like we're watching the calendar passage of time and going through like using holidays as like benchmarks, as Joel. Yeah. Forgot his last name. Yes. Kinnaman, as Joel Kinnaman moves through the film and sort of rehabilitates himself from what happens in the beginning of the film, getting his strength back. Just spending all this time thinking about revenge, rehabbing. Oh, my past, my dark past. And finally, we get some action sequences in there. I should mention, interestingly, 2 co-stars in this. One of them is Academy Award nominee Catalina Sandino Moreno, who is not getting the work she deserves as Academy Award nominee Catalina Sandino Moreno. And also Kid Cudi. That's about it. You won't really recognize anybody else. Probably, I don't think so anyway. But they're in the supporting cast. Kid Cudi plays a police officer in this, so and Catalina Sandino Moreno, you'll figure it out. Anyway, they use the slightly bigger names, and then everybody else just kind of like disposable villains, who can fight well. So it's a heavy action film. I'm actually quite surprised, considering what I just watched, that this film wasn't at least shortlisted for best sound. I I want to write a letter to the sound teams and be like, this film is only sound design, basically. I mean, there's not really like a dominating. There's a little bit of a score. There's a little bit of a score here. I'm not gonna say that this film is void of score, but this film is all about those action sounds that you get. The clicking of the guns, the hitting, the punching, the kicking, the breaking of glass, the firing of weapons. This is the sound team on this film. There's no dialogue, so you're listening to constant sound effects. The fact that this didn't at least get shortlisted bothers me. It doesn't have to be nominated. That's fine. This film is not that great, but it should at least be nominated. Somebody needed to recognize the sound team for this achievement. It's very likely I will when I put my list together. So, because if this film had uninteresting sound, or if the sound effects sounded not real, I can't remember what I watched recently, where all of the sound effects sounded really fake, and then of course that film, I think, ended up nominated for best sound. God, what was that film? It was something that I watched recently. like from the 80s, where everything sounded like it was like a sound effect from Double Dragon. Like the video game, like, I was like, these are not real sound effects. Um, yeah, so audio description is really all I need to talk about here. I can't. What do you want me to talk about with like Joel Kinnaman's performance? Like, he never speaks. My entire concept, like everything I conceive about any performance in this film, is entirely through audio description. So this film is all about William Michael Redmond and the team at Deluxe. Just like a showcase reel. This is like a giant showcase reel for the excellence in audio description. We've had two films from 2023 that deserve to win whatever award we're giving for audio description. This and No One Will Save You. Absolutely deserve all the accolades. It's so hard because it's like the same thing I said it with No One Will Save You, is at a certain point you kind of described everything and you have to just keep describing. And what they do here is they find new ways of reminding you who he is and why he's doing the things that he's doing. And they keep referring to him, like he does have a character name, but they're also like, they use other terms to refer to him so that way it's not so, sort of like when you watch a novel. It would get really monotonous to constantly hear James opens the door, James walks in, James goes in, James does this, James picks up a bottle, James picks up the phone, James walks into his closet, James walks into the bed, James walks off his roof, James is dead. Just to hear the same name over and over and over and over. They find different ways of referring to Joel Kinnaman's character that all fit him so that you know it's him, and it keeps it fresh and it feels almost like an audiobook or a podcast of some kind. And that's really the only way you can listen to this film, because I swear to God, there's no dialogue in this. I cannot stress that enough. It's William Michael Redmond talking to you for 90 minutes. Actually, it's a little bit more than 90 minutes. It's more than 90 minutes. It's longer. I don't know. It was longer than 90. It's more than an hour and a half. But yeah, it's just him talking and finding ways of describing all of the little things that characters do, what they look like. At a certain point, you've already described the character. It's only just how much do you really want to describe? In this scene, we notice he's actually got a mole on the back of his neck. He's like, we didn't see it previously. Like, we don't want to go that deep. So it's amazing that they're always finding new things to bring up and to describe, and some of it is in the visuals, and like how the sun reflects on things, and people passing by, and they do change location a lot. No One Will Save You had even less of a benefit because she's in her house for a large majority of the film. Here he does travel a lot, and go other places. So we do thank God Deluxe and Redman were offered the opportunity to describe other places instead of just like the same, well, still in the same room. Like, it's the same wallpaper, same carpet. Well, we told you what the drapes were. Like at a certain point in a film like this, you've actually kind of said everything you need to say. So it's really interesting that this film has such a lush, rich audio description. I can't imagine anybody would want more from this. I don't even know what more would you want. It's so tough. The fight sequences are described really well because even though they're fast paced, there's one where somebody's getting like really close to a knife the whole time, and there's like this foreboding knife, and will somebody's head get slammed on it? Maybe, like that kind of thing, and tracking sort of the closeness of this fight and this person's head to a knife. I thought was done really well. There's a decapitation early on, just to set the tone, just to get that R rating. Just so that we'll let you know this is a John Woo movie. I don't know if you know, John Woo. I'm going to decapitate the hell out of somebody within the first 5 to 10 minutes. I would say it was somewhere between the 5 to 10 minute mark. I think. Um, yeah, it's not a great film. It feels very derivative. And in a year, in a film, in a cycle where we continue to get revenge thrillers like John Wick, like Nobody, like, yeah, I don't know, even bad ones, you know, The Mother, The Good Mother, you know, just this is a pervasive genre now that we have, is somebody being pulled back into life, to have to seek vengeance. And I don't know that John Woo brought anything. He got into this really late. It really does feel like, it feels like he suddenly heard we were doing this over in America, and he came over here, and also he had just learned of The Punisher and wanted to direct that and didn't get a chance, and it's like, I'm gonna make my Punisher movie. It's gonna be like this John Wick that I keep hearing about, that's supposedly so much better than everything I've directed in the last 20 years. You know, I just don't know. But it, the audio description here is so fantastic that I had such a great time listening to it. It's weird, but this is one of those weird random cases where I have to say, human audio description, hiring actual people to do the job, to making sure that the nuances, that, because AI would have just called him the same thing over and over, and it would have grown monotonous for the whole time. It would have driven me insane. It wouldn't have been nearly as descriptive. It probably would have left me with a lot of silence in a film that already is a lot of silence. And I wouldn't have gotten nearly as much description. This is the incredible importance of human audio description. William Michael Redman is a national fucking treasure. I love him. He's one of my favorite narrators. He's absolutely the perfect choice for this. Although part of me really wants to hear him do something that's like totally off-brand for him. Like, I want to know what William Michael Redman on like Paw Patrol would sound like. But I do love the fact when he does action and horror movies, but secretly part of me is like, I really want to hear him do something like gritty, like, Rebecca tries on a dress. She looks at herself in the mirror. She doesn't like what she sees. She pulls her hair behind herself and smiles. She moves over to her makeup case. She pulls out her lipstick. She applies the lipstick. Like, I just want to hear, I want to, I want to hear that voice on something that's just like really fluffy, you know, like really just cuddly. And because he's so great at doing the other stuff, I want to know what it's like on the other side. Anyway, I love this audio description. The audio description did slant the grade up for me. I would have gone about neutral on this. I don't think it's terrible. John Woo is not a terrible director. Paycheck is not one of the worst films I've ever seen. I thought that film was beaten a little bit too much in its day. Not a great film. I'm not defending the film. I'm not saying you should go watch Paycheck. But we did step on it a little bit too much than we needed to. It was a little like, maybe like slightly below average. Not just like, oh my God. You know, some people were like, this is the worst thing I've ever seen. I saw some other films in 2003 that were way worse than Paycheck. Same thing with Silent Night. I've seen worse films this year. However, the excellent audio description on this film, and to some extent, same thing happened with No One Will Save You, which is sad because I gave that movie a C minus. So if I'm saying that movie was slanted upwards to a C minus because of excellent audio description, and I'm giving Silent Night a C plus, yeah. So it's really only like, it's the difference of C to C plus or D plus to C minus. It's a slight bump. It's like a thanks for doing an excellent job on the audio description and actually hiring humans here. It mattered. It mattered so much. It made all the difference in the world, and that's what I'm using to indicate. So Silent Night gets a C plus. please watch this for the audio description. If you are a consumer lover of audio description, you owe it to yourself to watch a film that is nothing but audio description. It's just audio description like this. We also need to stop making these films. They're dumb, and you can make a film with very little dialogue, but people have to talk when it makes sense for them to talk. You know, there was a time in this film where Redman said that the cop was called over to someone's office, and of course there was no like, nobody vocally called him over. Nobody was like, "Hey, Joe." So I just sort of imagine the lieutenant like waving, flagging, because he can't speak. Maybe Joe's not looking at him. He's just like waving his arms around. And I'm waving my arms right now, just like to indicate the ridiculousness. Like, come here. No, he can't even say come here. He has to do this. Just like moving his arm rapidly to indicate come over here. Fucking looks stupid. So that was where my mind went every time that they take the audio description out of, every time you take not the audio description, the audio. I say audio description so many times now, I finished the word with this description. It's when you take audio out of it, and it's just, there's no speech. It's dumb. Stop. Anyway, I have a website, MacTheMovieGuy.com. You can follow me on X on Instagram at MacTheMovieGuy. You can go to the audio description project, adp.acb.org. It'll let you know what is audio description, where you can watch it. And you can go to the ADNA.org, where you can look up William Michael Redman and see whether or not he's ever directed anything fun like The Princess Diaries. God, I hope he did The Princess Diaries. I really want to see that happen. Wish fulfillment. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I will see you guys on the other side.